Hi, my name is Lindsay Gullatte-Lee, and this is where my story begins. When I first moved to Hillside, I left my family, my whole comfort zone, everything that I knew, because the relationship I was in was not healthy for me or my children. So I left and came here to start over. And I was kind of in a depressed zone. I was kind of free because I was away from that situation, and I was ready to move on from that situation, and I know I couldn't do that there, so I moved here. But it was still like a loss because I had left my whole family. I would just get up, go to school, come home, go in my room, and that's it. And I was kind of shutting my kids out at the time too. I would just, make sure I was kind of roboting. I was kind of making sure they ate, making sure they bathed, making sure they did their homework, but I was really not there. So, I was closed off. I had school every day except for Fridays. And I would get out early and just come straight home and go to my room, close the door. And I didn't want no involvement, no nothing. I would listen to my neighbors outside, and most of it was not positive stuff, nothing that I wanted to be involved in. It was mainly them talking about other neighbors or trying to figure out what was going on in everybody else's household. And that just wasn't something that I was interested in, so I just tuned everybody out and just went into a deeper little self-loathing depression type state. And I didn't ever think that I would get into that kind of situation, because I'm a very positive person. I'm always looking on the outlook, so that was hard to deal with. When I first moved here, everybody was saying don't go to Hillside. It was known as Hillside because it was so much killings and everything going on here. And I think that's why people don't come outside, because there's so much drama that other people create, and you don't want any parts of it, because most of the time it's innocent bystanders that get killed and not the people intended. And so I think that's why a lot of people just stay to themselves and stay inside. What happened next is I got a knock on my door, and there was this woman at my door. Her name was Wendy, and she told me that she was with Embrace Richmond, and she was like, and I'm like, hello. And it was very early in the morning. It was the day that I didn't have school. So I was, trying to sleep in. The kids were at school. I had just sent my baby off to daycare, and then I got this knock on the door. So I opened the door, and I was like, yes, and she's all sunny, and hi, how are you? And I was like, I'm fine. I'm just want to sleep. I don't want to talk, especially not to strangers. And she was like, kind of looking in, and she was like, well, I noticed you don't have any furniture. And I was like, yeah, I don't have furniture. And she was like, well, how about you want furniture? And I was like, no, I don't. And I closed the door. So maybe a couple of days later, or maybe like a week or two later, she came back. And when she came back, she brought friends. And this time it was like a whole gathering in front of my door. And again, I was like, okay, I don't know who this lady is, but she's all extra smiley, and, maybe she doesn't want anything from me. Maybe she just wants to see how I'm doing for real. So I actually opened the door and, let them in, and they asked me about furniture, and I told them that my kids had furniture, but I didn't have any living room furniture because I didn't have family or friends here. There was no need for me to have any, so I really didn't care about the furniture downstairs. But she told me that there was a program. She was doing some stuff over here in the rec center, and that they could help me get furniture. So I came over to volunteer for food bank. And once I came over to volunteer for food bank, I figured out I wanted to do a whole lot more over here, because food bank it's still, to this day, I did it for about 4 years. It's still my most humbling thing I've ever done. Again, even with the food pantry, a lot of people didn't even know that we had that. And just from us getting involved and walking the neighborhood and letting people know, more people would come out and get food. And that's humbling, because even though you may not need it, or you never know really what's going on with somebody, and just to serve food, you can learn about people a whole lot. Just for them sitting there waiting, they tell you what's going on with their lives, and you get an insight as to what people are going through behind closed doors. And it's very humbling to know that even at one time, if you're suffering, if you have anything going on, it's always that somebody else that has it worse than what you have. So you learn to appreciate what you do have. And the neighborhood comes together when it's community day, when we have things that backpacks and school giveaways, and it's peaceful, and we didn't have to worry so much about violence. Whenever we had something good, it actually stayed good. So that started to change. I found out in order to do more volunteering, I had to join the team. So I joined the family team. And once I joined that team, it was another team, a cooking team, and I joined that too. And so I was a part of both of those teams. We had a partnership with Brandon Mill Church, and every once a month we would go to Brandon Mill and meet with the group there that we had the partnership with. So once I started doing that, you know, I was like, wow, I didn't know that I can do all of this. This is cool. I didn't have school anymore, and I didn't find a job right away after school. So this was actually something that I looked forward to while the kids were at school and my baby was at daycare. Something for me to get out of the house and do. The family support team we met once a week, and we would come from like 11 to 12, and basically it was just so you could come and get out of the house and have support and talk to other people that were in the same situation that you were in, and they would help you with things if you needed to get a job, if you needed anything. That's the kind of support that we did. We used to walk the neighborhood to get other people to join the teams and figure out what areas were needed for support, and that's what we did. Patrice Shelton. Patrice is everything Hillside. She is, when I came, she was just the lead of family team, but she pretty much did everything. She's like the Hillside ambassador, the mother of Hillside. She's everything Hillside. Anything that we do here, anything that has gone, is grown from Wendy coming here and showing us the way to Patrice taking it to a whole nother level. Well, again, my daughter, she was like, Ma, now that we can get into the rec, you know, let's get back to cheerleading. Cheerleading was definitely a family passion. Cheerleading is like in our blood. And I was a coach for about 7 years. I was a judge for 3 years, and my daughter did competitive cheerleading, so that was all we knew. And, you know, I went to Patrice and I told her that I wanted to start a team. And Wendy developed this Good Neighbor grant. So we had to write out a whole plan. It was kind of like starting a business. You had to write out a business plan, everything that you wanted to do, dealing with how you would get your business started. And, you know, that kind of got me into business. I never thought about owning my own business ever. And that's one way, because all that planning that you have to do, everything to get it to come together, it was a lot of paperwork and a lot of meetings and a lot of all this extra stuff just to get it off the ground. But in the end, it was all worth it to find out that people actually wanted to do that. And my goal was to show these kids here, some of these kids have never been outside of these walls, and that was my goal, to get them to learn something different. So I went out and talked to parents and had parents come to the rec and show them what kind of cheerleading that I wanted them to do. It wasn't just about cheering, it was actually about getting to know these girls, mentoring them. We were into schools, we were able to talk to other teachers, parents, anything that was going on with these kids, so that it was more of a mentoring program as well as cheerleading. She's always saying, like, okay, kids are not my thing, but she definitely supported my dream and making this dream come to life. So everything that I did, she had my back for. Brandon Mill also helped out, and then, you know, as time went on, we created a partnership. Other groups were formed. We had Brandon Mill as a team helping us out for the team, and Wendy would have us do these vision boards and, you know, come and bring our dreams to life. And then we created all these different groups, these teams. Youth team, we had a dream team for, just like Brandon Mill was our family team one. We had Trinity as our youth team group to help us out, our supportive group. My husband, he's also very supportive. He likes football, and one day he was out here throwing the football around. Mostly we have girls, and my whole cul-de-sac over there was everybody had girls. I had 4 girls myself, and almost everybody we lived with had girls. So we didn't even know that there were boys in the neighborhood. And my husband, he was throwing the ball one day to a few boys over in that area, and he just kept throwing the football one day, and a couple of other neighbors would go out there and play football with him, and after a while they would have little games against the young kids, against the adults. And he just said, you know, it would be good if we had a football team. Y'all got cheerleaders, we need to have a football team. So we started looking into the fact that almost every project had a football team except for Hillside, and we wanted to know why that was. So you know, we had a fellowship. We used to have fellowship over here once a month on Thursdays, and we would cook and ask our neighbors to come and fellowship with us so they could learn all about the teams and all about the positive things going on in Hillside. And every now and then we would have partners from outside to come in and fellowship with us, different guest speakers, different guests to come. And we met Tanisha, or we met someone who knew Tanisha, who had started her own spring football league. And we had never even heard of that. And they got to talking to Tony, and that's how spring football came about.
So Hillside Soldiers?
Hillside Soldiers, yes. It started out with like 2 people, and you know, again, one day it was him and 2 other people and 2 other neighbors, and it grew. One day I opened my door and there was 40 people in front of my door waiting for Coach Tony to come out and play football with them. And you know, for it to grow like that was amazing. The impact that it had on the projects, on everybody, because it was people coming from all over just to come and see these boys practice. And at that time, they weren't even a team. They were just boys in the neighborhood that were playing football. And for them to grow into being a team was awesome, the way that it came about. And eventually we had baseball, we had basketball, and now they are known as the Hillside Hawks. From having nothing going on at the rec to all of these teams developed to children having something to do and actually bringing home trophies. My team won grand championship 2 years in a row. So all that just from neighbors coming out of their household and doing something special with people that would have never thought to open their doors. It was all about, we would go and speaking engagements, or Wendy, I think you would tell people what was going on here in Hillside. And the main thing about here is that people do not have jobs because they can't get to work. And I know for myself from experience, from coming from somewhere that I can just get on a bus and it'll take me directly where I need to go, the bus systems here are crazy. And it's like you have to take 2 buses to get everywhere. You have to, you know, and it's not directly to where you need to go. So I know when I first started going to school, I had to take 3 buses to get to school and back. And Mr. Vest was actually a retired driving coach that he would give lessons to people. He started doing stuff like that. And so when he heard about everything going on here in Hillside, he agreed to do our lessons for free. And once that happened, I knew, okay, I need to learn how to drive because I'm never going to get another opportunity like this. And I got my license in October, my van in November, my birthday was in November, and I got a job at Target all in November of that year. So my life changed drastic after that happened. I moved at the end of 2015. Mr. Bob, he's also a partner here. He's not like Hillside. Patrice is Hillside. Mr. Bob is like Oak Grove, Belmead. He's like the volunteer extraordinaire. And I knew him through here, but he also worked at my kid's school. He was looking for neighbors that were into the community and that would be able to stay in the community and live in the house. And that's how we got our house. So we were able to move out of Hillside to do that. Getting to know people, because I didn't know anybody here. I didn't feel like I didn't have any family. I didn't have a church that I was going to. So getting to know the people outside of Hillside and know that people share the same passions that I did was my favorite part. I definitely became more outgoing. I didn't mind knocking on people's doors. I didn't mind being the Wendy for Hillside because, of course, I had a lot of slam doors. We had a lot of people that didn't even open the door. But, you know, once people start to see you do things or they see things come into play and they figure, okay, this is not just here for today or just this week, it's ongoing, it's, you know, we started out with having people come to one parent come into practice or one parent come into a meeting or maybe 2 come into a meeting to having a whole field full of people come and watch. So it definitely changed. I called Wendy because I wanted to thank her for opening my community outreach spirit, because I never knew that I had one. I knew that I like to help people. I knew that I like to mentor kids. Kids have always been like on the top list of things that I wanted to do. But I don't want to teach. I never wanted to be a teacher. I think that life experience is more important. I'm definitely going to take this. My husband has always wanted to have his own team, and he got a taste of that here. And it's just done nothing but bloom, and he wants to do that when we move. And I want to continue to mentor kids and continue to advocate for children. Advocating is one of the biggest things, going to school for criminal justice. Thank you, Wendy, so much.
Well,
because if I didn't meet you, I don't know where I'd be. I really don't.
I'm just so thankful that you opened the door.
Yeah.
And that I got to walk with you through this amazing journey. Yep. Because you are just like a light. You're always bubbly, you're always happy. And to hear
Yep.
you talk about kind of those darker days, and when I think about all those doors that shut and didn't open, and what people are going through on the other side of the door. And one thing I hear a lot is that people don't care.
Right.
And I do.
But they do.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. And you and Tony and your whole team and Hillside taught me just the beauty that that is hidden behind all these doors.
Yep.
And if we can coax people out of the door, and that you and Patrice and Rudy and the whole gang were far better at getting people to come outside that door than people from the outside.
Yeah.
And that's been beautiful. We wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And don't forget us.